Hello everybody, how are you going? And welcome to another Historica Canada video. The same people that bring us the famed Heritage Minutes, this one being a longer form video, but just as good I'm sure. The Chinese Canadians in the Second World War, aka a double victory.
Visible minorities were not welcome. So, what are we going to do? We just can't sit back.
When Canada began recruiting soldiers at the beginning of the Second World War, many Chinese Canadians saw serving in the military as an opportunity to correct historic wrongs and to earn basic rights.
Historic wrongs?
Chinese people had a long history in Canada. Many early migrants came to build the Transcontinental Railway and were often mistreated and put at extreme risk. Just as the railway was being completed and Chinese labor was no longer needed, a new head tax was introduced to prevent more Chinese people from coming to Canada, and to encourage those already here to return to China.
Hang on, what? First of all, what exactly do they mean by a head tax? And I want to come back and try and read what this is about. From what I can glean from it, it seemingly is a $500 charge just because they're Chinese. I would love to know what the general cost of the time would be to immigrate. I could surely hope that it's not $500 in, when does it say, 1913, $500 in 1913. That is a boatload of money. And so I'm wondering, where are all these immigrants getting the money from in the first place? I mean, it makes sense why they're going in terms of trying to, I guess, for work and for opportunities and for hopefully quality of life improvements, but that wasn't always the case almost. I mean, even just the Heritage Minute Nitro shows you a very raw perspective of what these guys were up against and what they were subjected to, going down all these ridiculous avenues and tunnels and everything just for a little bit of extra danger money and risking it all and often losing it all as well. And that is only going to be one aspect of the work environments that you wouldn't exactly say was a positive work environment. It certainly wouldn't pass any modern day standards by a long shot. So when you see photos like this and you hear those kind of environments, you go, surely no one would want to be coming over. Surely the word would have gotten out like, don't come to Canada, they're just going to do this and do that. But I guess if the opportunities are deemed better and the sacrifices are willing to be made, then that's what it is. The only other thing that I do want a bit more clarification on is
serving
this,
in the
though.
military as an opportunity to correct historic wrongs and to earn basic rights.
See, I just don't get it, because in my mind that entire sentence is a little bit juxtaposed. On one hand, it's sounding as though, okay, obviously you want better rights and conditions and everything like that, totally makes sense, and often this is a way to do it. But the first half of that sentence, correcting historic wrongs, makes it sound to me as though they were doing something wrong and they were trying to pay for their sins, sort of thing. That's the kind of avenue that it sounds like, but it doesn't mean that. Surely it just more goes along, okay, we want to be proving to the entirety of Canada that we are truly citizens, we are truly part of this country, we want to stand up for it and all those things. It just is a weird wording that threw me off.
This tax was only for new immigrants, including the wives and children of those who had built the railway. By 1923, Chinese immigrants were for the most part banned from coming into Canada.
Wow.
Those who remained could not vote and were generally confined to low-paid, menial labor. When war broke out in 1939, Chinese people in Canada were largely excluded from service. But this changed in December 1941.
When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, the British Empire was in a big rush to get visible minorities involved. So that's how the Chinese got in.
Oh, it's just so weird. I don't understand why on one hand you're excluding them for so many years, and then all of a sudden you're just including them in not something that people would generally want to be included in. I mean, I understand why they want to be included in these kind of efforts, but their overall themes of World War II is not something that you would want to go sign me up for, generally speaking, especially when all of a sudden you're being called upon because you need extra reinforcements and you need to be throwing extra resources at all this and that and the other. I mean, of course, even though the entire world had relatively recently experienced World War I, there was a decent amount of misinformation about what truly goes on, and just the recruiting of people going, yeah, you can come have a holiday, explore the world, when I don't know if that's really what you're signing up for. I mean, I guess, does it come down to the fact they don't want to be including minorities from certain countries because they're worried about traitors and treason and spies and all that kind of thing? Is that what it's about? Because there was another Heritage Minute that talked about the Japanese being locked up because they were worried that all of them were spies, things like that. Is that more the route that they are going down with the Chinese as well? I could see it being the case. It's just the fact that it's weird when you're going, no. Oh, all of a sudden, yes. It's weird. It's such a, just to eat the cake and eat the second slice and the third slice and just never share at all.
As Japanese occupation spread through the Pacific, Britain was desperate to infiltrate the region, to gather intelligence and sabotage the enemy. Their Special Operations Executive, or SOE, had successfully trained and dropped secret agents behind enemy lines throughout Europe. But the Pacific would be very different, as white agents would struggle to gain trust with resistance fighters who often resented their former European colonizers as much as their Japanese occupiers. It was thought that Chinese Canadians could blend in with locals more easily.
The Canadian government was very surprised that 100% of Chinese Canadian service signed in the dotted line to volunteer for Special Overseas Forces in Asia service.
I was only 18 when we were sent letters to join the armed forces. We were trained with different rifles, so we had also grenades. We were supposed to be spies.
See, and that's once again the have your cake and eat it too part, where they're going, well, I guess we weren't going to use you, but now we've actually realized that you could be a very valuable resource for us. Okay, well, if you can't go here because we're not having the greatest of luck of blending in, and that certainly makes sense, and so we're going to use your genetics to facilitate our own advancements in certain regions. And it is a tactic, I guess, that makes sense to use, but it's just such a backflip. That's the thing that doesn't make sense to me. From going, no, we don't want anyone to be included, to all of a sudden treating them like special force, or making them special forces and spies and all those kind of things, and really just infiltrating all the different levels and all the different countries and areas all around the world. And I just listened to it again to confirm it, but the fact that 100%, not 80 or even 30 or 51, not any of those kind of majorities, but 100% of them, according to what they said, signed for overseas special units. That's outrageous that everyone's going, you know what? I don't know where you're going to send me. I don't know what you're going to make me do, but I'm willing to do it. It's just, it's incredible that they were so committed. They were really trying to make strides to show that they're Canadian. They're not Chinese Canadians, they were just Canadian.
Between 1944 and 45, about 150 Chinese Canadians were recruited to the British SOE. Force 136 was an elite unit of Chinese Canadian soldiers. Their mission was to wreak havoc on Japanese forces, cutting supply lines and gathering secret intel alongside local resistance fighters. They were dropped into the thick jungle of Japanese-occupied territories.
Where?
If captured, their existence would be denied. They were given a 50-50 chance of survival.
Were they given payouts or anything like that? I mean, often that's, I feel as though how they tackle that kind of situation, going, well, we're promising this and we're promising that and we're going to pay you this because we really don't know, and a 50-50 chance of survival. I mean, I guess there are certain places that we know that we're less than 50, be it Turkey and other places, of course. It's a very, very devastating time and era of all of humanity. But the fact that they were just sent to the jungle as well, like I said, you really didn't exactly know where you were going to be going, and just to wreak havoc. Like, it is kind of generally what war is all about, just wreaking havoc on the enemy in many different regards, whether that's to take advancements in territory, or to wreck supply lines, or shipping, or actually demilitarize the enemy, whatever it may be. But the fact that their entire brief is just go over there and just wreak havoc, just make it difficult for the Japanese, I guess it makes sense. If you're an elite team, you can kind of do whatever. Also, if anyone is able to tell me what exactly they are holding here, I would love to know, because I have no idea. It looks to me like a scale model, but that doesn't really make any sense. And so, is it different sheathed weapons, or is it historical artifacts, cultural artifacts? I have no idea. Even the fact that the little bottom paragraph doesn't say anything about what is pictured above, and it just talks about the fact that they arrived from Australia via the boat and they'd gone a very long trip all the way around the world to get there. But still, no context of what they were actually doing, and the fact that their entire presence would be denied, or their existence, not presence, but their existence would be denied. That's some serious, like, movie kind of plotline stuff.
If you are still alive and get caught by Japanese soldier, you will try to take 2 cyanide pills to prevent the enemy torturing you. When you are captured, you are not qualified as prisoner of war. You will be shot immediately.
They received extremely specialized commando training. This included stalking, silent killing, demolition, jungle survival, wireless operations, espionage, parachuting, interpretation, and silent swimming.
You could be called anytime for duty into the guerrilla warfare in Japanese occupied territory.
Absolutely.
By parachute into the jungle individually, not by group. You will be in the jungle for 3 to 4 months until someone relieves you.
Oh, that is, I mean, yes, they obviously provided the resources in terms of the training, like they said, survival and everything else that they listed, demolition, it's just, the list goes on. But to be, just to have the mindset where you're going, okay, I'm individually parachuting into the middle of nowhere. I don't know where I am. I'm going to have to land here and all of a sudden just conjure up all the different food and be able to survive water for 3 to 4 months. Basically on your own. You may come across some other people, but they may not be the people that you exactly want to be coming across. Whether you can infiltrate into that entire system or not, it's an entirely different ball game. But this is some seriously particular and very highly qualified people that were being put into these areas. And the fact that, like I said, I still can't get over the fact that it was such a backflip from going, no, we're not including any of these Chinese Canadians. We don't want any of them for whatever reason that they had. And then to all of a sudden just be pouring resources into these units and these troops, just going, hang on a second, these are a very valuable asset. We're going to give them virtually all the training we can possibly muster up at this time and just send them out on their own and hope that they can cause havoc. I mean, maybe that's because they're going and hedging their bets, going, they're expendable, we don't really care about them, but we do need them, so we want them, but we don't care about them. I guess that kind of sums up war in a nutshell, sadly. But man, the fact that these guys were just launching out into the middle of nowhere, across the other side of the world, and just surviving for 3 to 4 months before someone may, I mean, it says until someone relieves you, but that is also may relieve you. I've heard stories, I believe, of people just surviving thinking that modern planes, that the war was still getting on. They never actually received message that the war had stopped 30, 40 years, 50 years later. That's, it's just, it gives you shivers.
Force 136 wasn't the only opportunity for Chinese Canadians to fight for their country. Some recruitment offices were more lenient than others, and several Chinese Canadians managed to join the fighting in Europe.
Interesting.
Corporal Frank Wong was one of these few who served in France and the Netherlands. He was assigned to maintain artillery and was in Holland during the Battle of the Bulge.
I remember on New Year Day, I was going for my breakfast one morning and I heard the act guns firing in the distance. And then all of a sudden the fire came closer and closer, so I look up, I saw a fighter plane coming right straight at me. And I said, holy smoke, somebody's trying to shoot me. So I jumped into the ditch. That was the day when the German final push, they put up over nearly 1,000 planes in the air.
Despite the...
Whoa. The numbers and the scale that he is talking about, and he was, I mean, he wasn't casual about it, but he certainly wasn't over the top about it. Holy smoke, someone is trying to shoot me. Yeah, you could probably sum up the entire thing like that. That is your entire existence when you're just in these trenches and on these fields. Oh man, I just wanted to come back to this photo that we've got here, anti-aircraft traces over the harbour of Alexandria, Egypt, as seen by Ian Ma before sailing for Sicily in July 1943. That is so many traces, and I would love to know what is the kind of exposure time of these. How many bullets are we seeing, or over how long are we seeing all of those bullets and their tracer rounds? Because are they just sending them up into the air constantly? Yes, there was night raiding, yes, there was day raiding, there was everything in between. But that is such a massive expenditure of ammo right there. And this guy was in charge of ammunition, or was it ammunition? It was artillery, which I don't know how different that would or wouldn't be. Regardless, the fact that we're seeing that many rounds and just everything put up into the air is absolutely ridiculous. And this guy is just so generally, in terms of how he spoke about it, casual. Oh, they're trying to shoot me. Yeah, they are.
Despite the brutal jungle conditions, all the Chinese Canadian soldiers in Force 136 survived the war. Their service demonstrated their courage and loyalty to Canada. Extraordinary achievements they had to keep secret for a long time.
Before they let me leave London to come back to Canada, I had to sign a War Secrets Act. My lips were sealed for 25 years. I could not say anything. I could not tell what I did, what I learned. Otherwise, I go to jail.
It makes sense. It's not
the contributions that Chinese Canadians made to the war effort was a double victory.
Yeah.
Their service helped secure a victory for their country, and combined with years of activism on the home front, their bravery and commitment helped advance equal rights for the community.
Well done. Oh. Look at that. I'm sure that there are plenty of people that wish they could have a photo like Frank Wong does on the right there. Just no one but him in front of all the Eiffel Tower. If you tried to do that these days or any time in the last 60 years, I bet you would have a pretty rough time of it. There is no way that you could get a photo like that, but I guess it just didn't have the population and it didn't have the appeal. Oh, and I also didn't get to see that the first time around. The fact that that photo pictures 4 siblings, wow, in their Chinese Canadian military uniform. Is that a different uniform to, what, the British descendants and everyone else? Canadian military uniform? That doesn't really make sense. That sounds like you're just over-engineering a problem that doesn't need to be engineered. Regardless, the fact of the matter is, where is it, this photo? Group photograph featuring Force 136. All of them survived. That is crazy. From the kind of areas, I mean, I guess maybe not all of them survived, but that's what they said, so I'm going to take their word for it. The kind of areas that these people were getting dropped into and surviving for months on end in some truly horrendous conditions, from the jungles that they were dumped in to being behind enemy lines to even in Europe isn't going to be a very good place to be, and they all survived. It truly is a testament to how, 1, committed they were, but 2, how well they worked together.
In 1945, the BC government extended the right to vote to Chinese Canadian veterans.
Parliament in 1946 passed a law that on January the 1st, 1947, Chinese can apply for citizenships. All Chinese can be citizens of Canada then. I think we won 2 wars. One over the enemy and one at home.
Oh, it's so fast as well.
I saw a lot of things, a lot of people dying, but it made me a better man because of that. If I didn't go through that, I don't appreciate life.
That's a serious perspective and an amazingly positive perspective on life, to go, I have seen so many things, so many horrendous things that everyone knows that these people go through, but you can not ever truly appreciate until you've, I'm sure, gone through it. But then he says, if I didn't go through that, I don't appreciate life. And I guess if you had the war ending in a different outcome, it would be very, very, very difficult, I'm sure, to have that outlook on life. But regardless, it doesn't change what you've been through. If you win or lose, it just changed what the outcome is, and it would have been 1 war versus 2 or whatever it may be. The fact of the matter is that it was such a fast turnaround. They said 1947 they were granted ability to apply for citizenship. 1947, not 1978, on the backbone of all these years and all these extra things and after extra wars and whatever it may be. No, it was just like, wow, you really were committed and absolutely cemented the idea that they're not Chinese Canadians. Yes, the heritage is Chinese, but they are Canadians. They were willing to go out there and die for their country. They built the railway and then they went out there and built a new path, a better path for themselves and so many more generations to come, I'm sure, from the fact that for the prior years they were lobbying and what looked like peaceful protesting and then just committing themselves to this. It's just so validating because so often it just doesn't. They do all of this and you just hear, like I said, it was the 1980s, 1990s, some ridiculous years later that it eventually happened, but this was so fast compared to so many other topics and it's so nice to hear.